What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Legged Podcast. Before this show starts, I just want to take a minute and tell you all about the secret perks you get if you sign up on Patreon. Now, to sign up on Patreon, it is £1 a week, that's it. And by doing so, you get early access to all our guests. You get an extra episode on a Wednesday that is only available just for Patreon members only. On a Saturday, we do a betting show where we've landed some pretty big bets, to be fair.
Yeah, cross footy and boxing and MMA.
We do live events, quizzes, you get early access to all them, and anything else we've got going on, it all comes to you first for those who support on Patreon. No better time to sign up. We've got about 100 episodes maybe of Patreon episodes, which are hilarious, if I do say so myself. All there available for you now. Get signed up. It's £1 a week, and we'll see you over there. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Legged Podcast. It's me, Andy Grant, and this week we have the one and only Dave Kirby. I have, mate, obviously spoke for a while, been dead excited to get you on, mate. Coincides with the book, Those Were the Days, my friend, come out just before Christmas. I've read it, I've skimmed through it, I want to read it properly again, but even what I've read, mate, I've got a few notes I want to pull you on. I think it's brilliant.
Sounds.
It's a cracking book, mate, and I said to you just off air, whilst reading it, it was getting me excited for to go to the match. I've got Madrid booked in March, and I've kind of had that feeling as if I was about to jump on the flight now, so it's a cracker, mate, it really is.
Brilliant, nice one.
Where I wanted to start with, though, was to ask you what they've got in the water in Kirby, because obviously you've got yourself, Andrew Schofield, his son Bobby, Stephen Graham, Ian Lysgate, we just mentioned. I mean, a lot of creatives in there have all come from the same neck of the woods.
It's weird, you know, because we talk about this. In fact, there's an initiative in Kirby, you know, to get this recognised, because there's that many, honestly, in sports, in the creative arts, there's all sorts, honestly. I had a list of them. I should have brought it with me and just read it out, because it's mad when you see it. Even Phil Thompson, you know, Sally McDermott, you know, in the sports, John Conte, you know, the list is endless. So Kirby, I don't know what it was. It was weird, because when we grew up in Kirby, it was like, we had like this, like, most of us like came from the inner city, while our Mars and Zars did. So we sort of grew up with the city culture, you know what I mean, and all the urban culture, going to match and all that. But we were living in this sort of semi-rural, you know, like robbing spuds and everything out the fields. It was weird growing up in Kirby. It was on the periphery, but it made, I don't know what it was. We had this freedom. There was all woods and forests around us and all that. So it was, although we had the inner city culture, we also had the semi-rural sort of growing up, and it was brilliant. I love Kirby, but St Kevin's, where I went to, it was brutal. It was like 2,000 lads, no girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the most populated boys' school in Europe.
Fucking hell.
And I met one of the teachers not long ago, and he said what it was. He said, if you've done 2 years in Kirby as a teacher, you're allowed to teach anywhere in the country. Honest to God. So it was like...
what an incentive, eh? Well,
yeah,
no?
It was a brutal upbringing, but then Kirby was massive, the gangs, and I mean, I've spoke briefly in there about the gangs in Kirby at the time. Yeah, it got that bad in 1974 that they had mounted police in Kirby, stopping the gang fights. That was like for a month in 1974. Because all the pub at first, I mean, I just grew up with gang culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I think your environment's everything, isn't it? But growing up in Kirby when it did, and the gangs, and Kirby used to fight Croxted. And I'm talking hundreds, you know, like, used to meet in Bluebell Woods, all pile over the M57 was just getting built then. Used to pile over there, and hundreds into Croxted, then they'd come into Kirby. There's all this battling back and forth into Croxted. And remember on Granada Report, it was funny this time, this lad that I know saw me, and he was getting interviews on Granada Report, and he said, what exactly is the fighting about? And this Sammy goes, the motorway's ours. Not the motorway's getting built, but it was just nuts. But when all that calmed down, and every pub in Kirby started having gangs around it, you know, like 30, 40 lads outside, so they all started fighting with each other. So in the end, Kirby was like fighting each other, and that's when the mounted police came into Kirby in 1974.
That's mad to think. And also, I think what you've done well in the book, and apologies for anyone who's listening and watching, because I will probably jump about because there's so many facets to it. But in a way, it's kind of like Those Were the Days, what it's the name of the book. But when you look at it now as well, it's just gone to a different level of gangs, isn't it? You can always almost look back at that a little bit with kind of rose-tinted glasses a little bit to think, but it was, you know, whereas now obviously the culture in society these days, it's guns, it's knives, and it's people like losing their lives. It seems to have just what could be looked upon as that's what it was like growing up, and it made you who you were, to now this is like fucking gone too far.
Yeah. I mean, in the time that I'm talking about there, it was like, you know, if you got collared there, you got to go kicking. I mean, the worst boot kicking I ever got was up at Middlesbrough, you know, playing Butter, 1975. It was a bad place Butter to go to then. And I got a bad kicking under the bridge. It was like the fucking elephant man. When I come back, I got on the spin. Lucky enough, our kid led the charge back down. This is by the station, and like dragged me back up these stairs and all that. But I was in a bad way. Like I looked like the fucking elephant man on the train. I was like, so and then I said to my mum was going mad. I said, "Oh, what happened, man?" I said, "The train. I opened the train door and fell off at Lamb Street." So I just blagged it to my mum because it was in a bad way. Like, but so like it was like a good kicking used to get down in the 70s, but no, it could. Which was bad, like, but as it went on, you know, the 80s got a bit more naughty. You know, the Al Stanley knives come out and getting zipped, as they used to say. So it got a bit nasty. But these days, I mean, the gangs, like, not football really, but just the gangs in general.
In general,
it's just like a toxic evil, and it's just all. We call them street rats, don't we? You know what I mean? The ones that get into that. But it's evil now. There's not as many of them, you know, like there was in the 70s and all that, gangs and that. But the ones that are around, it's like. It's gone nasty, really nasty.
I must admit as well, when, you know, the title of the book says "All Those Were the Days," I'm reading it, and it does. I think I've spoke about this with, you know, going to match for years and spoke about it to the kind of older fellas, that there is this jealousy. I think from young lads my age, I'm 34, the gang of lads I go with all kind of end up having a bevy with their our fellas as well. Like Brian Mead, loads of fellas that you'll know and stuff, and Mono, and going on these European aways with them. And I do feel like there is a jealousy from younger lads of when we're hearing these stories of the 70s and 80s. And one of my favourite bits of the book is you're talking about when Liverpool win the league during COVID, and I think you're in a boozer, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in a boozer and you hear a couple of young lads start the Bertie Me, said to Bill Shankly, and this moment I thought was brilliant how you wrote it, where it's kind of like, you know, you say to these two young lads, you know, Bertie Me is, and they're like, Shankly's mate, innit, or something.
Shankly's
you know?
mate, yeah, that's what one of them said to me, thought Bertie Me was Shankly's mate, and I said, you know what started that song? And because like the original, I heard that about 1972, 73 around there. I remember the 72 going playing Leeds, and Leeds always used to bring a pretty big mob in the Annie Road, but the Annie Road wasn't segregated then, it was just one big terrace. So like, remember all the lads, we all used to meet down below in the canteen area, and then we'd all walk up. Loads of them. I mean, the lads who were older than me, they're all like, you know, the names, the Al Boot Boys, Kelly, Sud, Cava, Abbo, Finno, all these like names you knew. They were all older than us. I mean, it was a lot that, you know, when I was about 15, 16, they're all about 20, it's a lot, you know. So we used to look up to these fellas, and anyway, they all mooched in behind the Leeds fans and all that, and that was the song, Bertie Me, said to Bill Shankly. And at the end of it, you know, have you heard of Liverpool? And it used to be Liverpool aggro. They sing Annie Rose aggro now. But it starts out, have you heard of Liverpool aggro? Nah. And they used to do the boot walk, which is like, like the Torres bounce.
Yeah.
And they used to do the boot walk into the away fans. And that's what it was, a proper boot boy song, that. You know, back in the day. So I was telling these kids about the origins of that song. And it was like, I was telling them all sorts of stories from back in the day. And they were sort of amazed and like listening, like with intent. So I thought it'd be nice to capture some of those times, you know, because no one's ever written about them really. I can't remember anyone who's done anything about the 70s really. I mean,
well, was that the idea for the book then, just to kind of, because some of the stories in there, I mean, you remember them from, you've obviously focused on the FA Cup run in '74. I mean, was that the idea, just to make a book for us younger lads to be like, that's what it was like?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I wanted to do, I mean, I could have just picked odd games, said, we went there this day, blah blah, we went there that day, but I thought I wanted to, as a storyteller, I wanted to do something with a big beginning, middle, end, and so I thought, 74, the whole cup run, because I went to every round of it. So that's got to begin, a middle, end, and also, like, you know, the things happened during that run that, you know, all relate to what I'm saying. You know, lots of humour as well, loads of dead funny characters, but also like the trouble and the fight and the boot boy stuff, that, and the coaches got bricked at Doncaster. You know, all the windows went in. You know, all of the coaches chasing these Doncaster fans down the streets, and they'd stashed crates of empty bottles down the other end of the street. So as we were running down, all bottles smashing in the street. This is like dinner time, you know what I mean, in the afternoon. So, and long story short with that one, there's one like wannabe hero at the end, and he's like, he waited to the end, threw his bottle, and And my mate Fado, who I mentioned in the book, my mate Tommy McFadden, and Fado was chasing me, he said, fast Tommy in and out of these cars, and he ran into this house, this fella. I thought, so like there's like 2 coach loads of us, which is about 100 lads nearly. So we're all outside this house and booting the door and all that, and I'm trying to get him out, and he wouldn't come out, so like one of the lads, this Jake, wrapped his scarf around his face, front window with him, someone lashed the thing right through the top window, so all the house got smashed up. Then we all walked up to the ground, and we all walked to the ground from them. But then there was more coaches pulling up, going, what's going on? Because in them days, the mindset was totally about trouble. You know, you're expecting it wherever you're going. You know, it wasn't like now, and it's nice and safe now, isn't it? And, which is great, by the way. You take your kids to the game and everything, but then the mindset we're going away, especially in the early 70s, was like, there's going to be trouble. But we thought that day at Doncaster would be like a nice little jolly, because they were the bottom of the old 4th division. And he nearly knocked us out at Anfield, by the way. It was 2-2.
You said it was at the bar on the last minute header, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like, so the replay was in the afternoon, because there was power cuts then. There was power cuts in the country. So there was no floodlights, so we had to go there early, and we just thought, bottom of the R4 division, yeah, it'd be a nice little day out this, but then once that happens, and even in the ground was like trouble and that. But after it was when it really went off by the coaches, and there's like, I don't know, under the show of them, they came through this street, and there's a fella at the front, and he looked like Rod Stewart, this fella. He had like long blonde hair, like a feather cut, but he was a big, tall, skinny fella. And back then, he had these jeans called loons, and like loons used to have like a letter V just above the knee. And this fella had a pair of loons on it, but they were black on the top and yellow from below the knee. He looked like a giant wasp, this fella. But he was carrying this cosh, and he was like fronting everyone like that, and everyone was backing off him. And anyway, this mate of ours, Jake, he runs in from the side, butts him over this wall. And we all that started the charge then. So like, but we all jumped in the garden, stamping on this fella and booting him and all that. And I got the cosh, and
she got with you today.
So but also with me today. That's from 1974. I picked that up in the garden, because in those days, it was like a trophy thing going on.
Was this the 3rd or 4th round? What was it?
The 3rd round.
3rd round. Yeah. So probably this time, however many years ago.
It's probably appropriate now, because you know the cups we're in the 4th round.
Yeah.
So yeah, funny enough, the 3rd round last night. So that's yeah, it's mad, and it feels like a proper busy costume.
It's a proper, yeah.
But he had that, and he was waving it, and like in those days, you know, even on the front of the book, there's a lad. They're all Scouse boot boys on the front, outside the Albert, 1972, and there's a lad there, and I can see he's got a Leeds scarf on his left hand, and like the young lads would say, "No, was he a Leeds fan?" I said, "No." What it was then, you used to when you were fighting with away fans, you used to rob the scarves off them, and like that was a trophy, you know, like. As I've said in the book, it's like it was like taking a scalp, an Indian taking a scalp. It was like then you wore it then as a trophy. So that for me was a trophy, and like there was lads on the coach, give us the cosh, and I said no, I'm keeping that. So I kept it, and it was in a footy box. You know, like I've got all footy memorabilia in a box in the loft and that, and that's been there since 1974. So
that's a cracking story.
It was interesting, innit? But that was the kind of culture that we grew up with. But that day, you know, it was like great. But that was just a part of the course, yeah, you know, like trouble like that. And I've said about the Jordan that, with the song that we all used to sing, hello, hello, Scousers aggro, hello. That was a massive chant then. We sing Blue and White Shite now to the same tune. But back then it was like, hello, hello, Scousers aggro. And when you heard that, and no one backed off, you know, when you heard that, if you heard it over there, you know there was trouble. So he's all go there. You know, there was no running, like running away then, because Liverpool had a tough mob.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sort of feared everywhere.
One thing I think which comes through the book as well, and like you say, times have changed, and you know the trouble, you know, isn't nowhere near what it was like. But what I do think's dead interesting. It's at least similar to what it's like with me and my mates now. Is what I love about this, and it's probably one of the reasons that you've mentioned before. It probably won't get sold in Liverpool's official shop because of the stories, but it's definitely one for, you know, proper, you know, match going lads, Reds or Blues, any footy fan. What comes across in it is that everything around the match, because for me, what we always joke about is when we go is the match gets in the way half the time. You know, I remember being at the Barca game when we won it, getting beat 3-0. But before the game, before that 3-0 defeat, we'd been in Barca a couple of days, all the lads. You know, it's midweek, it's fucking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is. I think it was for example, a Wednesday morning, we've been on the beach all day, you know, big crate, we had some nice food, big crate of lager, got a footy down on the beach, like 10 or 12 scousers. One of us never had a ticket. We're all trying to, you know, put our money and get him one, and we're all there together. And it got to about 6 o'clock or something, and then someone went, hey, we best get the ground, you know. And we were like, fucking give it another half an hour. And it was like, the match sometimes got in the way. Do you know what I mean? Of just that kind of culture of being with your mates out and about different cities, getting up to no good and all that. Now, obviously, completely different levels to it, but that definitely comes across in the book of just the adventures. And yeah, it's great that you happen to be following a super successful team, but without doubt, it's everything around it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that was what, that was one of the intentions of writing it, because, there's nothing about the football. I mentioned the 74 Cup run. I briefly mentioned a couple of things. It might be a couple of paragraphs about the actual football, but it's all the culture that surrounds the football. You know, going to the match, which is the important thing. And I remember when we said, "Here we go, gathering cups in May." I'd done the Rome story, and there's only one paragraph about the match. You know it's about 4 or 5 sentences. The rest is how we got there and back. And basically, that's what that's about. It's how we got there and back, and the laughs that even when we got to Wembley and run up the Mall to Buckingham Palace, like 200 or 300 of us, trying to wake the Queen up.
I was going to come down a bit, that you're...
It's mad, it's fucking mad when you
Some
think
of the songs are great.
So it was good laugh and all that, but I wanted to capture the culture that surrounds the football, not about the football itself, because I think there's enough books about players and stats and all that. And where's the football stuff, especially the gritty stuff? If lads go away now, we go abroad and it's a good laugh, and that's all it is, a big piss up and a laugh. There's nothing really edgy, you know what I mean, about it. It's just a great time, innit? But like them days, you go away and you'd have a laugh and all that, but it was gritty as well, it was edgy. Wherever you went, it was like, especially when, certain grounds like Leeds, Middlesbrough, London, like you'd be on your toes. Because like there was around any corner, there was no selfies or anything then, you know what I mean? You didn't know what you were walking into, but so it was like an edginess then. But also I think when I look back now, it's with it being the start of our domination, that was 1973-74. It was just starting then. We'd only ever won the UEFA Cup up to that point.
That's what I was going to come to here. You put you can't choose when you're born. It's just luck of the draw. But believe me, in footy terms, my generation was blessed. We were seriously lucky bastards. Yeah. Like you say, you've summed up the amount of lads my age in our 30s. When I went the match first game I went to was 96. We beat Sion 3-1 in the Cup Winners' Cup, I think it was. I watched a lot of shit at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had the Houllier come in, etc., and Rafa and that, but. In general, there was a lot of years where you're just watching, 40 miles down the road. You've said it there, you were lucky bastards of just, that's why those were the days. But what was that like when you look back and you kind of, because I sometimes think, I'm moaning now saying I've seen some shite over the years, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of success. Now you think of someone who could love football just as much as me, but support Oldham or Bury, or and you think, fucking hell, God, you're fucked, like you've not seen nothing. So I guess as Reds, you don't realise, no matter what generation, but especially yours, you were, like you say, a bunch of lucky bastards.
I think in 100 years' time, people will look back at Liverpool's history and go, fucking hell, imagine being a Liverpool fan then. And we were, like my half fella and my granddad and all that, they went through the shit in the 50s, when we went down to the 54 and we got relegated. And they went through all that stuff in the 50s and all that, and the great man arrived in 59, Shankly, and everything changed, but we were about to reap the rewards of all that, all their graft and the foundations that they built, and our generation just reaped it, especially as young lads. But at the time you didn't realise how lucky you were. Out of the 19 championships, I've seen 14.
That's mad, that, isn't it?
Isn't it mad, that? And
I seen an interview you'd done about an interview where you'd done about the European Cups. Was it 10 finals you've been to? Or?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've seen us win the 6. It's just endless. And when you look at your CV, I remember doing it. I wrote a Scouser's CV. This is before. Actually, before Istanbul, I wrote a Scouser's CV and printed it and took it to Mallorca on my holidays. and I printed loads of them off, and I was giving them some manx, and I remember this Leicester fan, he's going, fucking, and like just to see what I'd seen, and that was before Istanbul, there's been 2 more since then. So it is, our CV is mad, me and my brothers, and the lads I mentioned in there, and we're just so lucky, but I think that's why it was special to me, number 19, because I wanted it so much for the younger lads. My own son, you know what I mean? It was just desperate to win it, so that meant a lot to me, and I got more emotional about that one. Obviously, I'm a mild bastard now, so you get more sentimental as you get older, but that meant more to me than so many, because, I mean, the others, apart from maybe 1990, when we got that one, like the last one with Kenny, I was more aware then, but I mean, when I was younger, it was just like, oh, this it? Another one. We just went through it, and I've mentioned there as well when Man United went down, in 74, and like, some of the younger lads say to me, what was it like today? It must have been a buzz around the ground. No one was asked, because United then, we used to have fucking murder with them, with the fans and that, but they were nothing to us, you know what I mean? They're obsessed with us, they are obsessed with us, Man United, they can't, I mean, they sing about us every game, they still do it now, but like, no one was asked, so like, I mean, even that, the Man United going down, the start of our success, I mean, Europe, to me, like 77 onwards, God bless us, I mean, it's just...
I wonder what the right age would be to kind of seeing them. You must have been in and around it for a few years, if you're kind of going to say this was the year to be born, to kind of see everything. You're probably not. It probably is around your age, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say like mid 50s, mid to late 50s. Yeah, even up to about 60. I'd say like, yeah, because I was like 15, 16 then. So like, yeah, those lads, I'd say mid 50s onwards. You've seen everything. Yeah, absolutely everything. I remember I was in Rome 77, and when we won the cup and all that, we just started the final whistle, and there was a fella next to me, and he was crying his eyes out. And I was thinking, what's he crying for? I was only like 18, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe what he was. And he was like that, and he was going, that's my team, that's son. He said, I watched us in the 2nd division. Imagine, like, for him, watching us in the 2nd division and all that, and coming through, and then the champions of Europe. And he's going, that's my team. And like, I didn't sort of get it then, but I obviously get it now, where he went to in his head and all that. But yeah, I mean, I've seen so many changes in football, and sometimes it's hard to swallow some of the shit nowadays, you know what I mean? The way it's all being, it's all hijacked and taken over by the corporate monster and all that. But like, these are the days before that. A lot, and that's why the younger generation, they're wearing the stories and that. That's just one story. Yeah. I mean, say Bart Senny, say you went to the same final with me, and you'd have a different tale, wouldn't you? Yeah. But your mates, and I've said at the beginning, this is just from my angle, but I mean, there's lots of more juicy stuff.
Oh, mate, it's definitely. Listen, I'm obviously match going red. I've loved it. I'm probably only done half of it. But like you say, they are going to be different stories. One I wanted to talk a little bit about to you was, so for example, one of my European Cup story, first time seeing us when it was Madrid. So we got a flight to Barcelona, a couple of us, then we got a hired car and drove to Madrid. We took like a week out and made a proper trip of it. Yeah. I've got my own, like, that was amazing for its own ways. Straight away you talk so much about hitchhiking and stuff. Now, obviously, never kind of done that. Do you know what I mean? Going to match and that, and you talk about some stories where sometimes you get, you're unlucky, you jump in and there's a fucking smelly bastard. And you talk about one where it comes up and the thing stinks in the back and all that. You know what I mean? What like kind of hitchhiking story you think to share one? Because I'm sure there's a few.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots. I mean, and it was a massive part of going to the game then, Tommy. I mean, and the lads you'd see, especially at Hitchhiking, when you got to Hitchhiking, there was hundreds of lads, like. And he's always jockeying for the best specs and that, but it was a massive part, because everyone was, I mean, times were hard and you were skint, and even if you had a few quid you'd think, I'll save that, and hitchhike there and I'll save it for the man having a bevy or whatever. So hitchhiking was massive, and I think I remember one story, like the lights of Kirby on the East Lancs there, that's where you start, and this say we got Liverpool was playing Stoke, and me and my mate Smigger, loads of lads I know Smigger, we were by the lights, and anyway, this coach pulled up, and it was on the arm coaches where you could open the boot, with like turning the handle. So we waited till it was pulling away, and we opened the boot and fucking dived in the boot of the coach. But like, when we got in it, was nowhere, you couldn't, like, there was nothing, no handle on the inside.
To pull it back.
Yeah, so we had like that, we had all the fucking boots all the way to Stoke. We took turns, just like, all you could see was like white lines going past all the way to Stoke in the back of a fucking boot. Fucking got out with fucking arms, like fucking gorillas' arms. Fucking like that, was like, couldn't even clap in the game, just like, fucking honestly, God, it's mad that. But yeah, back of a coach, shaking to Stoke, but.
That's a cracker, that.
Yeah, but it was not. So I remember saying, we were at Hayes O'Connor one time as well, because Howie Gale used to play for us.
Yeah.
Howie was a massive rep before he started playing for us and that. And I used to go on the Annie Roads as well. Howie was like a bit of a boot boy and all that. We all were at some point. But I remember seeing Howard at Hayes O'Connor. There was like loads of us there. He lived in Norris Green before he moved to Sockted. And he was with all the Norris Green lads. And this milk float went past him. I mean, they used to have bottles of orange juice on the milk floats then, like so. Fucking all the fucking orange juice went. Next thing, the busy's coming around about half an hour later. Anyway, fucking Howard got lifted. Yeah, he lifted Howard, yeah. And he always says, obviously, like, because of his colour, he fucking picked on him, you know what I mean? In them days. But yeah, Howard Gale got arrested at fucking Airdrie Island for dropping orange juice off the milk floats.
Like, in a way, I just... Like I said it before, you kind of get jealous of those stories. I'd love to kind of go back and have a season of, like, you know, going the match like that and having those stories, because, like you say, even like the what did make me laugh, everywhere's got the kind of stories. One of my favourite saying is, you know, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Yeah. And you talk about the mythical Ipswich dolly birds, and it's like you kind of...
It was weird that, because like I don't know what it was or how it started, but it was always like, oh, Ipswich birds, they love Scousers, and we were all like paranoid about it. Fucking, so if you've seen a bird in Ipswich, you'd be like thinking, oh, because there was like rumours going on that every time they see it, they fucking want to give you the fucking jayat and all that, fucking banging them and all that. But in the story I've mentioned about this liar that used to come with us, he was...
That's funny. It reminds me of that Jay off the In-Betweeners, you know, that just always...
Yeah. Always they're harmless anti-liars, you know, they, you know, like pathological ones like that. But that fella, he was harmless, but he was like little chubby fella, glasses on, and he couldn't fight to save his life. But he used to wear the airwear and all that, and he used to like sell some terrible tales. But he said like, before we played Ipswich in the fourth round, he goes, I believe there's loads of Ipswich birds. I'm going to sign cop for one and all that. So anyway, we didn't see him in the Annie Road that day, and we were in a cop that day, funny enough. But anyway, when we seen him in the Falcon Boozer, it was that night, and he goes, he said, fucking, I should have seen it today. He said, I'm fucking shattered, he said. He said, I ended up banging some Ipswich birds at half time in the Annie Road. So, I mean, but what we used to do with him, because he was a bad liar, we used to go away. He said, you know, to get more out of him, because his blags were massive. So he goes, he said, he said, there was hundreds of lads on the stairs watching me. And he said, as my ass was going in and out, they're all going, oi, 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 oi. That's what he said. So we honestly got me and Fado was in fucking stitches. So like for weeks after, we used to phone each other and just go, oi, oi, oi. No, down the phone and then put it down on me. But I mean, he was a bad liar, but I put him right through because...
Yeah, there's a couple of crackers about him,
this legendary ball and chain that he said he used to carry around with him.
Yeah.
He used to say, no, because we used to tie our scarves to our wrist then, and he said he used to sneak the ball and chain, you know, in the scarf. That's how he got it into the match. But he said he went to the Stretford End with it. And all,
yeah, you know, the one about in Manchester's funny with it.
Yeah.
What I've seen as well, which I wanted to ask you about as well, because you're talking about growing up then and you just kind of had fuck all and, you know, you're begging them from borrowing from Peter to pay Paul type thing and that, just anything to get something together. You said about the political kind of stance, and it was there's no politician was going to pay our £2.10 train fare to Bristol. The only man of status who we trusted and we knew genuinely cared about us was Bill Shankly. Was there that kind of feeling then of whether it's Labour or Tory, like, fuck it, it's the match, that's what it's about now, like that's kind of our release, that's our escape?
Yeah, absolutely, because I mean, we were just hung around in corners in Kirby. As I said, we had fucking nothing, just fucking gangs everywhere. The flats in Kirby, it was like Beirut, everything was vandalised and smashed up. So the environment we grew up in, there's just no one was helping us, you know, no politician was making a difference to our lives. But when we went to that match, mate, we just fucking felt like someone, and he was the one, Shankly, and my dad, you know, because my dad seeing us in the second division and all that, and before all that, when he came, he was the messiah, And my alpha, honest to God, when he used to speak on the radio, say he was on the radio, he used to say, it's the king. And everything, I had to shut up. We'd be fucking sitting there as kids listening, and he goes, this is the great man. And like fucking, it was like fucking, like say, if someone was like nationalistic, you know what I mean? It was like, you had the fucking national anthem and you have to stand up. That was the reverence. I thought he was the fucking king of England when I was a little kid. Honest to God, when I was a little kid in the 60s, I thought he was the king.
Yeah.
So like we grew up with that. So this great man, and fucking, he ran through walls for Shankly. And this Klopp's the same, by the way. You know, he's like the German Shankly, isn't he? But like back then, when we had nothing, and you're growing up in Kirby, and all around the city, really, the poverty you grew up in, no politics was fucking affecting your life in any way. So, but it was the football. It's just that, you know, that escapism at the end of the week was fantastic. You know, just to go to that game and feel part of something, especially in the tribal times that I'm talking about. Because, like, you know, it used to be 700 on a special. So you get off, say, you know, Leeds or somewhere, 700 of you singing, you know, the name of our city. And it was all Scousers then, by the way. You know what I mean? It was all 99.9%. It was just Scousers. There was no out-of-town support. This was before we went global, and you know, as a football club. So back then, you know, the LFC family didn't extend outside the city really. So when you got to someone else's city, all walking through the streets singing Liverpool, the name of our city, it was like you felt like fucking conquering Vikings or something. It was a tribe. It was tribal beyond belief, but like that's made you feel like part of something. You know what I mean? So then you go back to Kirby, to these derelict flats where we used to hang around, drinking fucking cider and nothing. And then but on that match day, with all the lads singing the name of our city, you felt like someone. It was great.
I think as well, and you said before, you know, you're not trying to get away with the violence and some of the kind of ugly kind of scenes of it, but you put here, which I think's great as well. I've heard plenty of so-called experts waffling on about the mindset of footy fans from that era, labelling us with words like disaffected, delinquent, adverse, and I can never say that, antagonistic. It's mostly bullshit. Take it from someone that lived it. It was about pride, self-worth, identity, escapism. The only time in our lives where we felt like somebody. And I think that in itself says so much about that era, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it's still the same in there for some lads, like to a certain extent. But back then, it was totally, you know, totally tribal, and you had fucking nothing. And the football took you to another place, especially that team. At that time, we were coming through, and it was just as I say, I mean, sometimes. You know, you can't help but get starry-eyed about, you know, your past and all that, and, you know, you get a bit nostalgic, but yeah, I'd give anything to go back to some of them days, you know what I mean? Even though it was rough and nothing like, but the days before all this corporate monster took over.
It's funny you say that as well, like my half fella now, it's funny, you know, you're moaning or whatever, he goes, I'm skint or something, and he'll tell me back about those days, and you know, everyone says, I'm skint, or don't get paid till next week or whatever. And then he'll go, oh no, I remember being skint, like fucking skint. Yeah. Where, you know, everyone says it now, I'm skint till next week, but he's like, no, back then, when you said you were skint, you had fuck all. And it's like, it's hard to even just imagine what it was like to literally have fuck all back then.
Nothing. I mean, that's why the Hitchhiking used to come into play, because you had nothing. Sometimes you go to the match, an away game, you never had a fucking penny on you. You know, you just hitchhiking, you never had fuck all. You get there, sign bunk in, and most of the times you've done it, and it was dead easy to bunk on a coach or a train on the way back, but going there was harder. But yeah, I had fucking nothing. And the thing about them, I think about the 70s as well. This is all pre-drugs. You know, that drugs is fucking took it to another fucking horrible level now. But you know, so like when you went away in them days, everybody was the same. You know, socially and financially. You know, no one had fucking loads of money. Like you go to the game now, and there's lads with Joe and lads who isn't and all that, but like Ben Den's age, we're all the fucking same. No one has a fucking carrot, and when you did have a touch, like some lads used to do a little sneak and all that behind the bars and all that, and used to share it out. It was, you know, it was like as I say, there was more of a social kind of thing there, but like it's all pre-drugs, so we were all the same. We had fucking nothing, but we looked after each other.
Yeah. No, I can see why those were the days. Jump forward to that FA Cup run. We mentioned a little bit about it before, but there's that you paint a great picture of when you get to into Trafalgar Square, and obviously you're greeted by Geordies and that in it. it ends up being like all with them and stuff, and some of the song "Let's All Wake the Queen Up," and the other one here you've put, which I thought was great. I'd walk a million miles to the end of your nose, Prince Philip. You know, that must have been some scene. I've done it myself when it was when the days of Torres and being down in London. I can't remember what it was, but like all na 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 on the tube and in the square and stuff. What was that like then? 74 Scousers Geordies together.
Well, it was weird because when we got down there, we got the midnight special. Well, there was 2 specials that night. We used to call them the Rattlers because the old mail trains and we just started fucking freezing cold on them, and the mail cages used to shake. So we called the Rattlers, and there was 2 Rattlers went that night. So we were there. There was 26 trains going the next day, which was a record at the time, the biggest train lift in Leipzig's history at that time. So, but we were on the midnight Rattlers, so we were on the second Rattler, and then we get down there. It must have been about 3:30, 4:45 in the morning by the time the train got there, and all the busies were stopping us, going beyond Euston Road. And what has happened? The train before ours is all steams down Tottenham Court Road, smashed a few windows, bit of that going on. And there's a lad from Eighton, James C. I won't mention his second name, but he fucking butted a police sergeant. That was the game. That was his fucking weekend over, you know what I mean? So fucking police sergeant. So we when we got there, they wouldn't let us off the station. So we stuck in Euston, tried to get a kip and all that. Then 6:30, they did, all the whistles went, we were all piling down the stairs, and in them days, no one paid. I was sitting there, it's like a human Grand National over the fucking tent, you know what I mean? It was just like fucking no one's paying. Tickets, please, fuck off. So, there was a lad, Leo his name was, and he's from Speak. I don't know his full name, but Leo, he had like a silk scarf around his head and all that. And I've said in there, I said, you know, it's not exactly what you hear out of a London tour guide these days. He was up and down the train going, everyone off a Piccadilly, let's knock fuck out of a few child molesters.
yeah.
So, I mean, that was the name for paedophiles and beasts then, child molesters. So when we get to fucking Piccadilly, we're all walking out, so there was fucking no one there. It was half 6 in the morning, it was empty, you know what I mean? So there's about like fucking 200 or 300 of us. Then we heard this singing in the distance, we got lost. What's that? And we thought it was Scousers, so we all started running towards it. And as we get near to Trafalgar Square, everyone stopped, you can see the black and white and all that. And in them days, I've said in there, you know, our generation, you couldn't really fucking look at the Geordies or any way fans without something going off. So we all stopped and started walking slow towards them, and they all stopped singing. But as we got closer, we could see that they were older, you know, like they were like Mitar's age and that, so they were a lot older than us. And they were going like, oh, they were all waving us over, going, oh, come on, man, waving bottles and all that. And we going, what the fuck's that about? What the fuck's that about? So like, they were saying, yeah, come on, have a bevy, but we didn't. You know, in them days, you'd think, what the fuck's going on here? So this Leo, he's in the front, and he went like that. We were all waiting for him to say charge, you know what I mean, to go at them. And he just shouted to the main man, he goes, you've just woke us up, you fucking, you know what I mean, he shouted that to them. And so that mellowed him, we all started walking over, and he started offering us bottles of their Newcastle Brown. Fucking big bottles they were as well, they had loads of them, crates and crates of them. Like, and that Jed, the liar, he's going, he said, listen, don't trust them, he said, the Cowboys used to do this, the Indies. He said, get them all pissed, yeah. And do them in. So like, but like, honest to God, they were sound, these alphas, and they were all older than us. And they were great, these fellas, they all had the Newcastle tops on and that, but because we'd had fuck all to eat, it was only about 7:30 in the morning, we were all half pissed, you know what I mean, on these bottles of brown, Newcastle Brown. That's something my mate Fado goes, yeah, let's wake the Queen up, and this Leo goes, yeah, come on the lazy twat, he said. So then we all started saying, let's all wake the Queen up. So we all piled through Admiralty Arch, up the Mall, outside Buckingham Palace. It must have been about 8 o'clock in the morning. Wake up, you lazy twats. Wake up, you lazy twat. And then walk a million miles to the end of your nose, Prince Philip. And what's the other one? Oh, Shankly is our king. So we all singing that. I mean, they'd probably make the national news that now, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? But then, you know, then when we went back towards the Mall, to Trafalgar, walking through St James's Park, and as we got to the end, loads of Geordies come through Admiralty Arch, but they were all younger lads, our age, these, and like they were all boot boys, all airwear on and all that. So it's just, they just stopped and we stopped. They weren't expecting us to be there, same as us, but there looked like loads of them, so they were all coming towards us. I'm like, that's going to fucking happen here. and a couple of empty bottles landed on the grass in front of us and all that. And this Leo's like that. Come on, we're fucking Scousers, not shit houses. Fucking and shouting, no one fucking runs and all that. So anyway, he picked a bottle up that they'd thrown, and he goes at them. We all fucking. So we all went at them, and they scattered like. I mean, we chased them like to Trafalgar Square. So this is, they got away like. But I mean, then we all that song, Scousers here, Scousers there, Scousers every fucking where. Nah. That was like a battle cry that you just won. You know what I mean? So. But I mean, to be honest, on that day, that was in the morning time, that was going on. But as the day went on, you know, when we got to Wembley, it was the first time I'd ever talked to away fans. It was weird, you know, without trouble. Yeah. Because when we got to Wembley, and it all mellows off. I mean, the fucking mob of Scousers that comes down off the specials. Because we got to Wembley early, so there's just all Geordies, and they chased us around. We were looking for tickets because we had no tickets, and they chased us all off their patch. There's about like say 100 of us. And they all chased us. We thought but they just chased us off the patch and stopped. They didn't go by the big towers there, the big twin towers. So we were stuck at the top of Wembley Way there, just waiting around. Fucking hell, where's all the Scousers? Because it was mainly Geordies. Then you just seeing them, remember our kids saying, fucking hell, look at that. And I was described it in there. I said it looked like an armada of ships coming over the horizon with these red flags. And it was the fucking Scouse mob of these 20 odd specials that come in. Fuck, there was 1,000, must have been about fucking 3,000, but all boot boys, you know what I mean, weren't fucking, and you could hear them, so we all ran down, met them, and then we ended up charging round to the Geordie end, hundreds of us, fucking singing, let's all fuck the Geordies, let's all fuck the Geordie, and they were all scrambling up the steps and up the embankments and that, but then it was just a show of strength, and then we all come back, and then everything mellows out then, I thought it was going to be murder, because like, I'd been to Newcastle before, that was a fucking bad place to go up there, and bad place up there, but it all mellows out, and it turns out alright, and to be honest, like, you know, anyone who knows the Geordies, like, and you've got Geordie mates, you've probably got some from the army, the great art,
great
the lads I know
yeah.
are, and like, it was probably sound them, but I mean, in them days, it wasn't like that, but that was the bad, you know, it never went off big time, you know, on that day, like, there was little incidents here and there. But
that's when
I think the FA. I've said in there. I think it was the FA Cup final. That was the only thing that could have done that. Then, no, like sort of like I don't know, two tribes meeting like that, because it was the FA Cup final. For some reason, it wasn't like the normal domestic leagues where there'd be fucking murder. Man United is a little bit different. I've got a scar there from '77 playing Man United. That was at Wembley when I got bottled and that. But the Manx, it was a bit more nasty, like, but. With the Geordies that day, I mean, especially at that time at the height of hooliganism, you know, there was no trouble really, which was great, and that's why when I went to Wembley last year when we won the FA Cup, that's why I took that with me, you know, the scarf, because I was
talking about the scarf, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that now, it's Scouse power, you know what I mean, and it's like that. You've got a fist on the ends like that. Cop rule, okay. You know what I mean? So that's a total, like a boot boy scarf, if you know what I mean.
So when was that from, do you reckon?
I got that early 74, something like that. So like, but everyone had silk scarves then, but I took that with me to Wembley because I was thinking back to that day in 74, and as you get older and like get to my age, I know a few mates have lost them since then, and so I took that. And I was thinking of that day, you know what I mean? And I was sitting outside Wembley when we played Chelsea last year. I was just thinking back, and you know, even like me half and all this stuff comes into your head, and that's where I've started the story, you know what I mean, at Wembley last year. And I've sort of finished it there. That's why I said I wanted a story with a beginning, middle, end. Yeah. But bringing in other little aspects of the culture back then. But it was like, as I say, when I touched that, you know, it's like, that takes me right back there. You know, I was so proud of putting that out there, you know, Scouse power. You know what I mean? It was great. Loads of us had them, like. But Mono reckons that's probably the last one left in existence, so like, I'm proud of that, like.
Yeah, and you know what you've done great with the book, and I've only picked a couple of stories, there's hundreds of belters in there. And we had Dan Nicker one from, you know, the Boss Nights, and what Dan started with the Boss Mag was essentially the same idea, in the sense that, you know, you've captured the kind of, you know, a cup run there in 74, And he said the same thing. He's probably been inspired by the likes of yourself and Mono to there's so many stories from going to match that, you don't want them to die. You want to have them documented and lads to tell these stories again and again, because that's what makes us who we are. That old saying, how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? And I think what you've done, mate's brilliant. And I think for anyone who loves the match and loves everything around it, it's a cracking read, mate. It really is.
No, sure. And funny enough, the picture on the front, the lads on the left with the lead scarf on, we found him.
Really?
Yeah. And I met him, Macher his name is, and the lad's, he's late 60s, nearly 70 now. And I give him a signed copy of the book when I met him in town the other week. And it was great to see him. Obviously, he's got no hair now or nothing like that, but I mean, he's still going the game.
Really, yeah?
Still mad red, yeah. And this lad here, the iconic photo at the front with the lads with the broken arm, is a lad called Kelly, and I've got to meet him, and he still goes to the game.
Wow, really, yeah?
So it's from boot boys to old boys, yeah, now. And I'm meeting him in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to give him a signed copy of the book. So it was great to. When I first seen the picture, I used to think to myself, God, I wonder if them lads are still alive. Yeah. And they're still alive and well, and still going the game.
So where can people get this then, Dave?
It's mainly on Amazon. But if they're in town, £12 footy in St John's Priest, St Tom, he's got them, and Mike at Sky for the Badge. Yeah, he's got them in stock as well locally. But Amazon's like the Amazon Books is UK's. It's sold a few in the States as well up to now, which is nice,
No, mate, we'll put all the links to it as well. Away from the book a minute, mate, I want to just talk about your career as well, because I'll be honest, mate, I first come across you. I loved English in school, probably got my best grades in it, and I love poetry as well. So it must have been 2005 I first came across you, and I don't know whether YouTube was a thing then. It must have been the news. I don't know how I was seeing it, but it was you doing the Tales of Two Kensingtons.
Oh yeah.
It's honestly the first time I'd come across you, so I must have been 14 at the time, maybe, or something. And again, I love poetry, and I used to be able to say it off by heart, you know what I mean? I memorised it and stuff. Don't think I'll be able to now, but so your background obviously was on the building trade, that right?
Yeah.
At what point then have you always had this kind of poetic gene in you? Has it always been there, or when did it start, real kind of coming out?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I mentioned St Kevin's School earlier on. I was about 11, 12, something like that, and as I say, it was a brutal school, 2,000 lads. All you learned there really was how to defend yourself, street wisdom, how to smoke, how to bunk. But I loved English like yourself. I was obsessed with it. I don't know why, it was just in me. I just loved, and we had an English teacher. He was a great fella, Mr. O'Brien, his name was, and he had like curly hair, fucking big muzzy and all that. But he used to read poetry, but like not talking like all that deep, profound shit. I'm talking about stuff. There was a poet called Robert Service, and he used to do this poem called The Cremation of Sam McGee, and it was a great story. It's about these two fellas in the gold rush, and like one of them dies, and he puts them on the back of the sledge and all that, and he ends up burning them, to keep warm, and he hears his spirit and all that. It's like I used to sit mesmerised. But this English teacher, he used to perform it. He didn't just sit there talking, and he'd go down to class, and he has a guitar and everything, this fella, and he used to play guitar and do stuff. So I thought I liked him. So anyway, I used to bunk in, fuck off, and then come in for English and fuck off again. When he was mad. So I love poetry. And anyway, so he gave us an assignment this time to write a poem about the human body. So and it was homework, so I took it on, knocked this thing up, and took it in the next day. And he's reading them all, and he calls me out. He said, "You never done this." I said, "That's it." He said, "Your mum and dad all done this." I said, so he made me go into a poem about doing PE. And so I took it back, and he went, "Oh my God, there is you," and he was made up. So he put that it got published in the Liverpool Echo. I was only about 12. So anyway, but like the scary thing was in St Kevin's, because it was brutal. They used to have 2 assemblies, 1,000 lads of a Tuesday and 1,000 lads of a Thursday in the main assembly hall. Anyway, the headmaster fucking he calls it out. He says, "Congratulations to David Kirby for getting his poem published in the Liverpool Echo." And at the time it was coming out that week, the poem in the Echo. Fucking hell, I'm getting booted in the back. I'm fucking big yockers on my back of my blaze, no spit. And our kid, my elder brother, filmed me in that night. start writing poems, you fucking queer. And it was all on my
That's what it was back then, though, wasn't it?
I got filled in with, so I fuck that writing poems like off, you know what I mean? Because that was that was like a sincere piece, as I remember it. But what I found I could do was like take the piss out the lads, make no funny stuff in verse, and I'd have that all day. So I became like the fucking class poet. And in them days there was nothing, there was no photocopiers or nothing. It was all done in longhand with pen. And I wrote this one because as crazy as it sounds, in the biology lab, they had a live monkey. And it was there for years, called Jacko, in a fucking big cage about as big as this, this room. Fucking and it was wild, this green monkey. And there was hundreds of pens at the bottom of the cage because it used to rob your pen. Everyone used to tease it with the pen. And it'd rob your pen and fucking and snarl, this little fucking monkey. It was horrible.
No.
Jacko the monkey. And Sean Stiles has mentioned it on Radio Merseyside a few times. He remembers Jacko the monkey. But anyway, I wrote this poem one time about the headmaster shagging the monkey. So that shot me to fucking stardom, that one. But it was going all around the school, hundreds of copies, but all in pen. And I was trying to find out who it was. It was me who's done it. So after that, all the lads, yeah, I'd say, write a poem about that. Yeah, fuck. So I used to write poem, funny stuff. And all the lads would buzz off that. I remember standing on the wall in Kirby with me fucking Fleming's jeans on and my hairwear. Fucking all the lads around, all the big gang of us and all that. And I'd do funny poems about the lads and that. I stand on the wall reciting it. But it was all comedic stuff, as they call doggerel verse. But that was in me from a kid, you know what I mean? But anything more sincere than that, I was like, fuck, I couldn't go there because of the fucking grief I took for that when I got published. But
I remember even though when that, like, growing up in the 90s, anything to do with drama or acting or poetry, which I've never really done acting, but the English side thing loved. But even that, it was, you're gay, that's gay, what are you doing that for? Yeah. And I remember we had Jamie Webster on, and Jamie Webster even said, love playing the guitar, and it was like, he even was a bit nervous on the coach. One of the lads was like, yeah, Jay can sing, and he's like, oh, hang on, don't tell anyone I can sing or nothing, you know what I mean? Because it was like, anyone who had any musical talent or it was fucking gay, that, which is absolutely bizarre, innit, really?
It is, yeah. And in St. Kev's especially, as I say, it was like, it was brutal, but also, like Andrew Schofield, my mate, he's in all my plays, Andrew Schofield, Scully, as you know, as everyone knows him, but he was in my school, Andrew, and he was doing a bit of drama then. People think I've only met him through the acting and all. I've known Drew since we were younger in St. Kev's and that, because I was like doing the poetry and he was like acting and that. We gravitated to each other anyway, do you know what I mean? So we'd been mates from when we were younger. But it was funny fucking him, by the way.
Yeah, we had his lad on there, Bobby, so we'll have to try and get Andrew on as well. Yeah, Bobby's a good lad.
But going back to the poetry, when I used to bunk out and come in, this Mr. O'Brien, his teacher, he said to me one time, because I was always in trouble as a kid, and I ended up in fucking Borstal and everything, but he said to me, listen, son, and it's always stuck with me. He said, listen, son, believe me, you've got a way with words. You've got a way with words. And he took me under his wing, this teacher, and he encouraged me, and so that's why I used to come back for English all the time. I respected him. I'd never bunk out of his lessons and all that. And he was fucking brilliant to me. And long story short, when we break up the Mersey Tunnels finally happened, I was 7 years writing, trying to get it out the way, and me and Nicky fucking signed everything we could. But anyway, when it eventually come on, I managed to get in touch with him. He was down south, and he came up with his wife to see break up the Mersey Tunnels. And Sean Stiles put it out on Radio Merseyside for me because Sean was in St. Kev's and he knew him. And he went, and we put an SOS out for him. And anyway, after about 3 weeks, Sean rang me up and he said, hey, we found Mr.
That's
O'Brien.
Amazing, that.
So he came up, and I said to him about what I said. I said, listen, I'll never forget. I said, you said to me, you've got a way with words. I said, it's always stuck with me. And he welled up, and he was
surprised.
He was getting dead emotional. And he watched the show, and he was made up. And he said, you know what? He said, all your career you go through it, and he said, you don't realise. He said, but you've made a difference to one child. He said, and seeing this now, he said, and what you just said to me, he said, it was really emotional. I was like a fucking scene from Lassie, the two of us. But it was nice that, but it just shows you what certain teachers what they can do if they, if you can connect with them. But like back in them days, it was like, you boy, and the fucking strap and all that. But he was fucking great, that fella. He treated it like a human being.
I mean, for him, that must be. I'm not surprised he was crying to know he's had an impact on that one child's life, who's then had an impact on millions of people with their words that he's encouraged. I mean,
yeah, I got invited to speak to all the heads of English one time in Chester, all the heads of English across the northwest, which was that was empowering, that. But my theme that day was being Mr. O'Brien. That was my I done a bit of a speech for them and stuff like that. Told them all about the story I've just told you. And my message to them was be a Mr. O'Brien, connect with the kids and all that, with all the English teachers. Yeah. And it was so it's amazing, because St. Kevin's, I learned nothing there apart from, as I say, street wisdom was always in trouble. Because your environment's everything, you growing up. But that Mr. O'Brien made a difference in my life later on.
I think in any walk, like whatever you do, a little cheesy line I always talk about when I do the motivational speaking, I say, sometimes you don't always need a kind of a motivational quote or anything, but by trying to be the best version of you can be, that'll have a far lasting impact on someone than you'll ever realise. You know what I mean? If he's putting the effort in, just by trying to be the best English teacher he can be, the impact that can have is far better than just a little throwaway line. You know what I mean? By trying to be the best, and it's obviously worked with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was in the building safe, and I was my dad used to say me on. Even my dad was a plasterer, so I was mixing on the site. He used to take me with him because I was always in fucking trouble. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you. And in the end, I learned how to plaster myself. So I was in the building game for years. Ended up on the Kirkby in the council. But even then, I used to take the piss out the lads and all, like the school stuff. But I'd never do anything sincere, because I could still feel the fucking blows off my brothers and that. But what changed that was Hillsborough, and I wrote a piece about Hillsborough, poem, and it was acceptable then to write something a bit more profound. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I sort of crossed over. And I started on the all internet sites and the forums about 20 odd years ago when they first started. And I was under an alias then, Braces and Boots I used to call myself, which entailed skinhead stuff and all that. And I was under this alias for like two years. No one knew me. I used to put poems on. I used to go, who the fuck's this fella? This Braces and Boots fella. And it was me. But in the end, I'd done the Justice Spell. Remember the Justice Spell? I wrote the Justice Spell, and then I came out the closet then, if you like, because I was scared to come out, because obviously the beatings I used to get. But
was there a point where you're kind of at even from a financial perspective, or whether it's a kind of you need to put more focus in, where you said, right, that's it, I'm putting the tools down and I'm actually going to make a proper go at this? Was there a kind of you mentioned Hillsborough, but was there a kind of moment where, or that you think?
Yeah, I mean, we got made these hundreds in 97. And after that, I was just mooching around, doing what was, on the towel, plastering of the day. And then I wanted I didn't know what genre I wanted to write for. I wanted to write a book about the council, because that many fucking lunatics there. It was funny. So when I started going to these workshops and the uni, but it was strange, because I was wearing all these trackies and baseball hat, and it was all full of middle class people. And oh yes, and I felt totally out of place, but I used to like going there. I was gravitating to it, so it was nice to mix with people like-minded, like myself. But then I started writing stories, and I found when I was writing dialogue, I was excelling. And because I'd been to see my mate Andrew Schofield in plays over the years, because I used to turn up in my old work boots and all that, watching him in plays, and I was going to theatre looking at him. So it was all going in, the poetry, watching theatre, it was all going in. But I started excelling at dialogue, and I think because I'd lived quite a lot of life and I'd done a lot, that's the way I was going to go with scripts. So, but it was 7 years getting out there. I mean, me and Nicky teamed up. I'd known Nicky for years from Kirby, going to match and all that. But he wanted to write a book about
Nicky, another Kirby lad, is he? Yeah,
he's another Kirby lad. Yeah, that's what I mean. The Kirby cartel, we call ourselves. But I'd met Nicky at the game, so he wanted to write a book about going to match and all that, and all the stuff that like that. The stuff that goes on and around the game. So his boys from the Mersey book, he ended up writing that. And then, but we were good for each other. We sort of pushed each other, do you know what I mean? But I'd written a play called Lost Soul before Break Up. But it was just sitting on my desk. I wrote loads of stuff around that time. Sent it down to BBC, come back, they always getting rejected and that. And you knew the rejection letters with big brown envelopes, fucking rejection. So it was hard 7 years of rejection, but I was plastering of a day and writing of a night, fucking falling asleep after fucking 3:30 in the morning, back up the next day, plastering. So 7 years of that, but I wouldn't give in, because I knew that I had something, and I knew I could connect with my own kind. plus that anger and the fucking determination that I got from my streets. That's the thing that, you know, growing up where it gave me. It gave me that fucking drive and the anger that they're not, you know. I used to get rejections and I used to go to the fucking gym. Fuck off, they're not going to fucking beat me. These middle class constant. That's the way I was fucking angry. This is the Evian Playhouse, by the way. That rejected Brick Up the Mersey tunnels twice. They rejected Lost Soul twice. This fucking middle class country in our city. They've come to our city and they're rejecting stuff that was for the masses. And I used to say, listen, anyway, we were proved right in the end. Brick Up's being seen by over 200,000 people now, over 6 runs. Lost Souls had 3 runs. You know, that's so.
When did Brick Up come out? Because that was the first play I ever seen.
Yeah, 2006 it was.
Was it?
So like it was like from I got in Matey's under 97. So there you go. There's 6, 7, nearly 9 years. I started writing properly about 2000, something like that. So it was like 6, 7 years altogether, writing and getting rejection. And some of the rejections, to be honest, I look back now, some of it was, you know, it was probably right to get rejected because it was like futile stuff. But as you get better, you know, you realise how you had something. So when Brick Up smashed it,
brilliant that, by the way, hilarious.
Yeah, so when that smashed it, and we knew it, I mean, that Evian Playhouse, that's how many people they be denying theatre to, though. You know, as I say, over 200,000 people have seen that now, and over 100,000 for Lost Soul. So there's 300,000 people they be denying theatre to with the fucking elitist bullshit. And when, especially them, because they're funded by the Arts Council. So like when you know, and the council taxpayers of this city, you know, they chip in as well. So as far as I'm concerned, they've got like an obligation to put stuff on for the masses. But they didn't. They all wanted this fucking, we call them chin rubbers, no, sitting there being intellectually fucking challenged by all that. So like the Everyman and Playhouse, it's not for every man. You know, it's every sort of thespian or, you know, middle class man, as I said. But so it frustrated me, but that anger, you know, the anger that Nicky had it as well. I mean, fucking not gonna fucking beat us. So it was like that determination. So yeah, the environments I grew up in and the sound I grew up in, I owe everything to that for that reason. And I've still got it now. You know, the fucking anger. You know, I don't know what. You never leaves you that. You know, that drive and the energy that you got. I would say that about footballers as well. You know, like lads like Carragher, Gerrard from the Bluebell Estate, Jamie's from Marsh Lane, Rooney's from Crocky. That thing, that fire in the belly that they've got, it gets you that extra yards. You know what I mean? Kids now are all comfy, aren't they? Really, you know what I mean? You know, so I'd say like your environment's everything. But for me, it was certainly in the literary game. And once I got out there with Brick Up, I've never looked back. I've had like 7 big hit shows, a couple of films, telly. So it's never looked back really, but them 7 years with Soft, I'll be honest with you, you know, like getting rejected for 7 years. Yeah. I mean, missus was like, oh, is anything ever going to come of this? Oh, fuck, oh. Well, I wouldn't give in, but she's reaping the rewards now. Like,
another thing, mate, which must have been played about 1 million times as well, was the was it A Year Last May? Was it? Is that what's called, a poem?
Oh, One Night in May.
One Night in May. Sorry.
Yeah.
Again, just because I don't know if anyone who is into poetry can have a look, but I was obsessed with and it's a shame that we don't do nothing like this, whether it's in the city or in this country. But there was a program on in America called Def Jam Poetry, and they'd have this like cool. I don't know where it was based. To me, it looked like some sort of cool New York jazz bar, and it was like they just get poets to come on, and it wasn't all this kind of. It was like your type of poetry, what you're saying and stuff, and some comedians would come on and do a bit, but it all poetry, and I loved it. And then anyway, I must have been watching that on YouTube, and then I come across your one, and looks like it's in Anfield or somewhere, and you're doing one, and it's talking about you being on a building site, and when you're fed up and you think back to one night last May, but it's got, you know, it's a few swear words in it. It's speaking as we are now, and I just fucking fell in love, and again that kind of reignited my love for poetry, and add that to the Two Tales of Kensington and that, and I just wanted to know, so with the playwriting going on, at what point did you find yourself as a bit of a kind of public speaker where you're getting asked to come and, you know, read your scripts?
Well, it started off fun enough. When I said I was doing them on the forums, and then I eventually came out, and then so people got to know me, and we used to have Hillsborough. You know, HCC, I was involved with the HCC for years, the Hillsborough Justice Campaign, and I used to have benefit nights, and the very first one I done was on the Masked Theatre for and like I fucking shit myself, to be honest. I'd never done like performance verse before, so like, but I remember going a trial run, because the workshops I used to go to in the uni, there's this fella, one of the lecturers, and he used to do poetry nights at the Pilgrim pub. So I told him about I was doing this thing at the Masked Theatre, and he said, why don't you come to the Pilgrim and try it out, you know what I mean? So it goes, all right, yeah. So I goes there and thought, what the fuck am I doing in here? It was all like, the folky brigade, all little fucking goatee beards and fucking kecks sucked into the socks and all that. So, and I was standing there, my trackies, and I'm going, oh my God, and I had to put my name down with this big list. So it was on me, and I asked for a bottle of ale and a bottle of Beck's at the time, and he went, Beck's? Everyone was thinking fucking tea, you know what I mean? So I was having a bevy at the back on my own, and I was listening to all this stuff before me, and it was all like, sort of profound stuff, and I was going, oh, for fuck's sake. So I was going on doing this one about the boys' pen, which used to go down well. So anyway, eventually goes up. And the lecturer came in before, and he didn't have to queue up. He come in after me, and they were all going, oh, hello, and he was all like suckling them, you know what I mean? So he goes on and does this one, and I was expecting something brilliant, and I was going, fucking hell, is that it? Like, and they're all like that, like clapping them. So anyway, I get up and I explained what I was going to do in the Masked Theatre. So I was on this piece called The Old Boys' Pen, and when I finished, there was like a couple of seconds, and next thing, the fucking like ovation, all that.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, I floated to the bar then, and it was interesting because all these guys that are perceived as these little folkies and all that, this fella came up to me and goes, I went in the boys' pen in 1967. It was great talking to them now. Yeah. But that sort of cracked it for me, because I didn't used to read it from the paper either.
Yeah.
A performance.
Performance, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I done the thing on the Masked Theatre. I done the boys' pen, and I done the homemade flag. The homemade flag, funny enough, is about my mate Fado, who's in that book, Tommy McFadden. Great mate of mine, Tommy. No longer with us, but like, yeah, so that started it. So I done a few benefit nights, and then Tom Cassidy, who was head of the Museum and Tourism at Anfield, he's sound Tom, he's one of us, like, and he got to know, but he was working for Heathcote's, the catering company at the time, and he heard about me doing these things, these, and he said, he met me this time, he said, listen, I've heard you do poetry, he said, because we're thinking of having these nights, this is after Istanbul, he said, we're thinking of having these nights at Anfield, he said, Istanbul nights, he said, I'm just thinking of like a different angle, because you do a couple of your pieces, he said, but I'm not too sure about the audience, he said, but what do you think? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do your first one. I said, and if I don't get any ovation or that, I said, don't fucking pay me, and that's it. And he went, no, I'll still pay you. I said, no. I said, but if I do get an ovation, fair enough. So anyway, he goes on, and I goes in, and the very first night was in the Paisley Suite, and it was fucking rammed, like, all tables, and he had a screen showing bits from Istanbul and all that. And it was funny when he announced, like, there's a poet coming on. Fucking, you'd almost hear the fucking gasp around the room. Fucking poet. So I used to always open up and say, listen, boys, honestly, don't worry about it. This isn't fucking Lonely as a Cloud and all that, like I said, this is about us. So when I get going, and within a couple of minutes, I had them, because we're talking about their lives and in our voice and all that. And anyway, by the end of the night, I used to do 3 on the night. And it was fucking great in the end. I used to do 2. Then you'd always have someone, like an artist on. It was the Coral, John Power, and between. So it was great. So and on the top table, I got to meet all the players, because every time there was one on, we started off doing 1 a month. It ended up 2 a month, fucking 4 a month, and then 1 a week. You know what I mean? So I was doing them all the time, and I met all the players, because there used to be a player, an ex-player on the table with us. So it was great, that, and that got me really out there,
Mate, I used to know them all off by heart, all your poems, honestly. Yeah. The bit where you say about, I've marked it down, but it says 3-0 down, it's all over, according to Andy fucking Gray.
Yeah. I know, that used to go down a storm, that one. And football culture, that was another one that sort of explains why. And why I mean, it's that long since I've done them now. I could have brought it in and done it, actually, if I'd known, but...
Oh, mate, I love anything like that, mate. Any, like, pieces of dialogue like that, I memorised them all, mate. I thought they were fucking great. Yeah. Really did.
No, Sean, and as I say, it's our voice. I mean, I can remember the first verse. It was like, have you ever had one of those miserable days when everything gets you down? The alarm goes off, you go to work, and you're sort of just moping around. you feel like part of the system. It's the same thing every day. But they're the times that I close my eyes and think of one night in May. And that was the opening line of it. And so it goes into it then. But like, you know, the football culture, what does it mean in this amazing city where we lay our scene? If culture means drama, then I've seen it all. But I mean performers entertain with a ball. And if culture means knowledge and love of the arts, then Liverpool fans are a lot apart, because football's an art form on which we were reared, while knowledge was gained from travelling for years. And it goes into it then, solely. But them two used to go down well, but like...
all come back to me, mate, then, listening to them all, mate, honestly.
But that's how I got to know all the players and all that, and all. It was great. And even like Kenny, I mean, I've met all of them, like, but when I met Kenny, he was like... because he was... he was my idol when I was on the building sites and all that, so... And he's sound, you know what I mean? He's one of us.
I'm lucky enough to meet him once or twice,
Yeah, but he phoned me up one time and said, "What's this fucking book about?" You know, not that one there. Here we go, gathering cups in May. He was in Spain. And he ended up getting it on a Kindle, you know what I mean? He goes, fuck. And then the next time he said, "Oh, it's fucking great, that." I said, "You won't find this in the club shop." So, no, it was sound, as I say. But that got me out there, the poetry and stuff and all that. And then I stopped doing that, funny enough, after that being Liverpool. That being Liverpool, that was funny as well, because I mean, I got some fucking stick over that, to be honest, but that wasn't why I jibbed it. It was funny because, like,
so you don't do any of the poetry at all now, really?
No, I just like scripts and drama now, really. You know, me plays and all. The performance, and in the end, like, there's a pressure as well. No, like when he's performing live poetry, it's all right following my own words and that, but there's a couple of times I went, and I just got through it. No, you forget the fucking thing. I went, oh fuck that. So I started getting a bit stage fright in the end. But you wouldn't think so. Looking at lads have got videos of me doing it, and you wouldn't think so. But it was like pressure as well. You know what I mean? And I suppose all actors get it, but they can improvise. But I've got to remember every fucking word.
Every line.
Fucks it up with it being in verse. But as I say, and it was a great time and all that. But with it being Liverpool, the Yanks came over. Funny enough, they seemed to see that Fate of Our Fathers that it says years ago, before the 2012 cup final against Cardiff.
Probably will have. I can't remember off the top of my head. Probably will have.
Yeah, I done this piece called Fate of Our Fathers about going back to Wembley, because, as you know, up to that point, 2012, we were at Cardiff for years, because Wembley was getting done up, regenerated and that. So the last time I was at Wembley was 96 and then 2012, but in that time I'd lost my guitar, a few mates, so I just done this thing about Wembley, going back there and all the memories that we had, similar to that, like nasal gazing really, but what happened then? The Yanks seen it, the Americans, and they were doing that thing about being Liverpool.
As in Hicks and Gillette?
No, I think it was CBC.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, like the film company.
But it's that time though, when it Hicks Gillette with the whole being Liverpool thing.
Yeah, well, it was thing had just taken over, hadn't he?
Oh no, what was it?
No, Fenway had just taken over, because that Thingo was involved with it. So it was Brendan Rodgers, man.
Rodgers, it's when he had that thing with Sterling and he said, don't.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, don't say that to me or something.
Well,
yeah, sorry.
Well, what happened? They were doing six episodes of it, but they got me involved because they seen that Fate of Our Fathers, and Kenny Dalglish put them onto me. So that was nice. Kenny got me that gig. But when I filmed it with them, similar to yourself, they just had a camera and it was upstairs in the sand, and they filmed me. I had this black shirt on, and I'd done a couple of poems and just talked to them for ages about stuff and that. And anyway, I was supposed to just be I was only supposed to be in the first one. When they rang me up about 3 weeks later, and he said, "Listen, we've looked at all the rushes, and we want to use it at the start and the end of every episode." I said, "How many episodes?" He said, 6. So I said, "Is that 6 times the fee then?" And he went, "Oh, we'll get back to you on that." And he said, "Yeah." So I fucking got a few quid out of that. But because I was in it, I got some stick, because I had the same gear on, you see.
Yeah.
And I was saying, "You fucking stuffy bastard, you fucking same fucking shirt on for 6 weeks and same fucking pint you minge by and all that." But like social media was just kicking in there. And there's a lot of fucking beauties you don't know yet fucking giving me loads on social media and all that. Who the fucking hell are you? Fucking say it to me face, you shit houses. So like you get all that stuff, but that didn't deter me. But that was sort of the last stuff I'd done. Like mind you, I'd done something about a year ago for Mo Salah with this company from down south. You know, like a different, like a verse. I wrote this poem about Salah. I've done it around the streets of Liverpool, but that was for a function, like an event. But
I definitely wouldn't give it up, mate, because again, you inspired me, mate. I've done a bit of poetry as well, and it's come off, looking up to people like yourself, mate. So I definitely wouldn't knock it on the head altogether.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always there. I think once Jimmy McGovern said to me one time, he said, we all start off as poets. He said that. He used to do political poetry, Jimmy, and fucking shouted at the politicians and all that. So Jimmy started off as a poet. So if it's in you, it's always, it'll always be there. And I get drawn to write stuff now and again in verse. I mean, I've seen that poems that don't rhyme and they don't fucking make sense to me. I'll be honest with you. It's just like a bit of prose, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do like the rhyming in it. Mate, what's now then? What's the kind of present and the future looking like for you now?
Well, I'm at the moment, because I broke into TV. I've got a TV credit now. I was on I done one of the Moving On episodes for Jimmy McGovern last year. So once you get a TV, that opens the door to TV, and I've got ideas, you see, for like a series and stuff like that. I've done it. We made a trailer, a film that I've written the script for this film, and it nearly got off the ground. In fact, with Ian Lysett, we were talking about before, Ian shot it for me. If you go on YouTube and just put The Last Ferry trailer, and it's like a vigilante story, taxi drivers who go with the street gangs, but like just normal lads. I was sick of seeing stuff about like right-wing vigilantes and all that, or fellas who come back from the army and want to put the world to rights and that. Yeah. This is just a normal gang of lads, taxi drivers who fucking get persecuted by these street gangs and they go back at them. So Stephen Graham is involved,
I think I've heard Ian talk about this actually.
Ian Lysett. Well, he shot it for me, and at the time we took it to Cannes, this trailer, and in Cannes all they want to know is who's in it. And as soon as you mentioned Stephen Graham, they went, because he was just coming through then, Stephen. Hollywood and all that. So Stephen Graham's in it, Ian Hart, he's attached his name to it. So we had some good names for it, but it didn't get off the ground. Fucking sick. But I'm looking at doing that as a series now, like a 6-parter, because you could go deeper into these stuff, like
characters and
the backgrounds and all that. So I'm looking at pitching stuff at TV at the moment. That's what I'm concentrating on now. They're all caught. The stuff that backed up in COVID is all getting produced now. So there's a bit of a backlog there, but they want Lost Soul 2. They want Lost Soul 2 back on. So that should be coming on back end of this year. I've also written a piss take of Blood Brothers.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I saw Blood Brothers for the first time in the last year.
Did you? Yeah.
Only for the first time.
Yeah. I seen it when that first come out. Andrew Schofield was the very first narrator.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
And he was. I remember seeing it back then, and Barbara Dixon and all that. And it just went nuts and went to London. It's never been off since. But
there was a piss take of it.
Yeah, I had to do a piss take. I've always thought, when the adults run on with short gags and playing kids, I've always thought there's comedy there. You know what I mean? So I was around when the inception. So I'm going to do a piss take. Well, I've done a piss take of it actually. It's called Spud Brothers. You can imagine where that's fucking going. You know what I mean? But so I just keep doing it, and it doesn't matter what age you are. I mean, I can talk. There's more stories in that back in the 70s. I mean, all the lads who we used to look up to. I'm talking about the lads in the Annie Road and all that. I know all them now. It's fucking weird, You see them now, they're all like armfuls of grey hair sitting in Thomas Frost or whatever. And but the stories they've got, I could have got more sort of graphic and violent with that easily, because I've seen it all. But I kept it like.
I think you got the right balance, mate. It was good.
That's what
it was a good read.
It wasn't just a book, as I said at the front, but but hopefully it's captured a little bit of those times, and the younger lads, as I say, they always listen with intent when you're talking to them about it, about those times, and as I say, they were great times, rough times, but great times as well. The 80s got a bit more nasty. Even the songs, I always say the songs it sort of describes the culture. They're like social documents, the songs, and all songs in the 60s, Dio and all that, and the Beatles stuff. 70s, we don't carry bottles, we don't carry lead, only carry hatchets who bury all that, and all the people.
It's changed even now. It doesn't even get that doesn't even just. We only bury hatchets to bury in your net, isn't it? Now, do you know what I mean? It's not even hatchets in your head anymore.
Exactly. So it's, as I say, they're interesting times, but there's still enough of us around. But obviously, being a writer, it's it's on me. I can tell the stories for a lot of lads, and they can put. I'll put my hands on the table and everyone can recognise themselves, and it's nice. It's nice, as I say, it's just nice to learn the history. But this is what it was like before Liverpool were a global sensation, really. And it's, as I say, when I get to when I speak to the lads with the broken arm on the front of that book, I can't wait to meet him now. I've spoke to him on the phone. His name's Kelly, and don't get mixed up with this famous Peter Kelly. Peter, he was the main anti-roader. Kelly, everyone knows Kelly. He's even mentioned in a couple of Cockney hooligan books. Kelly.
Really?
Yeah. You see Kelly now. He's like 70 now. You know what I mean? But good lad, great lad. But that's not the Kelly, Peter Kelly. That's another Kelly. So he's even got it. I remember when I got the photograph of Mirror Pics, I zoomed in close on his jeans, and he's got it written on his jeans, Kelly.
Really?
Jeans, yeah. So
no, it's a cracker,
mate.
mate.
Yeah, it's a great fit photograph, but it sort of captures those times, and that's hopefully it'll strike a chord with people. But it's doing well. I mean, the lads who've read it up to now, it's a nice little read, and I've kept it concise as well. I mean, people have got short attention spans now. You can read that in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like so, I've had a couple of days, mate, and it's good, mate. Mate, before I don't think how long we could talk to you all day, Dave. Before we wrap up, mate, what I did want to touch upon as since we are both massive Reds, just about the more current day. Obviously not the season we expected after the run we had last season. What are your kind of views on Everton at the minute?
Well, at this time, I mean, like everyone else, I was shocked. I mean, I was over in Turkey when we played Man City in the Charity Shield. I was over in Turkey, sitting there, some of the blue noses, you know what I mean? And they were gutted because we played fucking brilliant against Man City, and we just thought, that's it, here we go again. Shocked. But I can't, I'll be honest with you, I have said to the lads before, I've seen this coming for a while with that midfield. You could see it. I mean, we've got no pace in the middle and creativity and stuff like that. It's just changed, but hopefully, I mean, I'm critical of FSG. I mean, I am. I mean,
really, even I thought I have been at times, but then, I mean, I love Cara, respect him so much as football knowledge, and he said something the other day and said, at the end of the day, as owners, we've won everything under them. So,
yeah,
I know what you mean. You can be critical, but then also you think, well, actually,
yeah, I think, well, we've won everything under Klopp, and they were just lucky to get him. Do you know what I mean? If we wouldn't have got Klopp, we wouldn't have won nothing. I don't think so. Yeah,
I know what you mean. Listen, they've done things which definitely need to be, scrutinised and criticised for, but then there's that other way looking at it.
Well, put it this way, like back in '77 when we won the European Cup, we just nearly won the treble. We won in Rome '77. That summer we got Dalglish and Hansen. In the January we got Souness. We fucking build on success. You don't just sit there like you did after Madrid. After Madrid, it's done nothing. It's like one player since then in the midfield.
I was saying that the other day. I couldn't believe that stat when I saw that.
I know. At the end of the day, I mean, the fella said to me last week, but look at the ground and you stand and all that. I said, hang on, if I'm fucking selling my house, if I put an extension on my house, it's just an investment when I sell it. So they're investing in bricks and mortar. They're going to walk away with 3 billion out of our football club, 3 fucking billion. And my argument is this: before you fuck off, give us some of that back now. Fucking off into the sunset with your billions. So at the end of the day, I'm critical of them. I'm not like vociferous about it, but like I can see the flaws with it. They're very lucky to have that genius Klopp, and I hope to God, he stays whoever comes in. But I mean, there's sort of like Eastern money coming in. I don't know if that's true. It's some shite on that internet, and fellas in the know and all that.
Oh yeah,
we're getting this Quitsari thing and all that. Next thing, it all caves in. So, I mean, I'm critical of FSG because of the lack of investments. And when we were on top, they could have created a dynasty after 2019, 2020 down there. We could have been right up there, but they've just sat back and fucking that net spend thing. It doesn't work in the end.
I seen a thing there that Chelsea have obviously gone mad this since this new owner come in. Chelsea have spent more money in the last 6 months than Liverpool have in the last 10 transfer windows.
Is that right?
How mad is that? I know Chelsea have literally been buying everyone, but when you say it like that, I mean, that's fucked, isn't it?
That is fucked. That's scary, though, as I say. When people can... Yeah, there's fellas, I've got mates who like they don't defend them, but you know they say, oh yeah, but the things they've done, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they don't give a shit about us, man.
No.
They just the carpetbaggers, you know, they've made the money now. They made the 3 billion.
Yeah.
And that was the agenda from day one. I think we're just a cash cow to them.
One thing I saw the other day as well, it was an argument I've never heard before, but it may be an interesting one, could be loads of shit, but I thought it's interesting to hear your views on it. When we beat Barcelona 4-0, obviously I don't think they won the league then for a year or two, and it's like, you know, the fucking Messi leaves, and there's a lot more factors to it, but Barca crumbled a little bit. They had a few years where it's like, fucking hell, and you could argue that's knocked them. Do you know what I mean? 3-0 up, you go away, knocked out the Champions League. Fucking hell, I'm not a sportsman at the elite level, but I think certain games or moments like that where you're that close and they must hurt. Do you know what I mean? Someone said, and you'll be able to tell me exactly where you were. I can tell you where I was. I was standing with Brian, Mono, Phil, all them lads at half time, last day of the season, and Man City getting beat 2-0. And we only need, you know, when we're hitting the cops second half, you know we're going to score. And it's like, fuck me, we're actually going to do this. We don't. City scored 3 in fucking 6 minutes, whatever it is. Do you think it's a similar kind of thing that Barca have suffered? Just that kind of wow. Like that. And it's the first time I've seen it on Twitter, and I thought, actually, you know what? There could be a little bit of truth to that, because it broke my heart. I mean, the end of last season as a fan, I was lucky enough to go to 4 or 5 of the aways, went to Wembley 3 times, every home game. Not as much as some fellas we know go everywhere, but I done quite a bit, and even I was broken by the end of it. And I think surely the players must feel something.
It's interesting that, yeah, it's the first time I've heard that kind of that side of it, and I go along with it. To be honest, yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, like having no quality midfielders last year as well. I mean, to come in, I think we could have done the 4 if we'd had a bit more strength in the middle. But like, yeah, I mean, to get that close, I was the same as you. I was convinced. I'll never forgive Aston Villa for what happened there, the way they fucking caved in the Etihad. But yeah, no, it's well, I thought. Man, you saying that when we came out against Man City, I thought, you know, when in the Charity Shield we'd done them the way we did. We just bought Nunes, so I thought, you know, that there was going to be a resurgence of that fucking confidence. But like, maybe it is. Maybe it's so fragile, the confidence, wasn't it? Because Fulham shattered it down there. Their midfield just steamrolled us that day. And it keeps happening all the time. The pace and power keeps like steamrolling us, but like. Yeah, I mean, it's had a lasting effect. I think it's had a lasting effect on Klopp a bit. Yeah. You see Jurgen now, and he looks
a bit tired.
Yeah, he looks. Warm,
I think the whole thing of when you think back of it, mate, we were 180 minutes away from winning everything, and it's like, as a pep talk, as a motivator, as a leader, how do you say to that same squad of players, lads, everything you've done last season, same again, please, apart from 180 minutes, which will change throughout the season? How do you kind of say, look, last season was 99% perfect, we just need 2 more games to go our way? It's hard to kind of go same again. Do you know what I mean? I know.
Maybe if he said, yeah, it's all right, boys. Or you could look at it. Yeah, it's all right, boys. Listen, there, we lost them, but we're buying 2 fucking quality midfielders now. We're going to spend 200 million. Yeah. And we're going to fucking fly next season. Don't worry about it. They bring all the quality in, then we go again. I think it's like there's definitely I mean, the players now in the middle. You know, I just don't think there's no pace. I mean,
there's definitely no pace.
Anderson's got pace. I mean, Chamberlain, he's got pace, but funny, a lad next to me said his first touch is that bad, his second touch is a fucking header. So,
what are your views on Naby as well? Like, he's always, because weirdly enough, there are a few lads I know who are actually, you know, think he's all right. And
I can't get that. I'm looking at him, and he's sippy tappy, nice. No, he doesn't assist. And I think he should have been binned after that fucking hoof in Paris.
In the final, mate, yeah.
Fucking hoofed it.
It reminds me of the Aspas corner that against Chelsea.
Exactly. That should have been his last kick in Liverpool's share. 53 million for him, mate.
Yeah.
Honestly, God. He's got no pace. He's weak. Got the ball took off him at Brentford last week. And then to score that third one. He's just, what did he see in him? I mean, I'm spoiled, like, all that stuff the players I've seen in midfield over the years. So like when I see the likes of Keita and fellas are going, I just don't get it. No. I just don't get him. I mean,
After a great pod, I would have lost all respect for you if you said he was all right as well. I'm glad you don't like him.
No, I think basically he's shite, as far as I'm concerned. We can do better than that. The price tag does mean.
Yeah, I looked because I looked at kind of other players and I compared him to a little bit like, they play different roles, but someone like the long lines of like Harry Kewell or Stuart Downing or something, and he's got like a similar appearance, kind of like goals and assists or someone like that, and you think, like fucking Harry Kewell, I'll forever remember him for bottling it in Istanbul, and I just put him in that kind of mould of fucking...
Absolutely, all my mates are the same, man. It's only on the internet to see these fellas who say, he's alright.
Yeah.
How the fuck don't you make that out? 53 million for him, man. I just can't believe it. And they got Minamino for 7 million. He was better than him, wasn't he? And they got rid of him.
Yeah.
How the fuck he's still here? I don't know. They'd be lucky to get 10 million, or I don't know. They're going to lose serious dough on him. But and the likes of Kate and you look at. I made up for Elliot last night. He's had a bit of stick lately, hasn't he?
He hasn't.
He's all right, but he's not fucking brilliant yet. But he's only 19. But I loved. That thing that we were talking about before about anger and that drive. He's got that.
Yeah.
Because he cares, doesn't he? And you can see
the
night.
passion in that he's got.
So I love that side of him. A little bit more meat on him than no one.
I think he could come good. I'm a big fan of his. I think he has got a bit of stick, but I think some of it's have been a bit unfair when you're giving a 19-year-old stick coming through, but you're giving Cater a pass. It's like, hang on.
I know.
So that's the bit that I think, come on.
You can go through the whole midfield. Milner, I loved Milner for his, because he'd run through that wall for us but he's 37 now. Yeah. He's 37 last week. So we got Jones. Jones, he'll end up with Woodburn or something, like you get moved on. So the whole midfield really, it's like
it's at least two in it.
Yeah,
quality.
But last night was Bichetti.
Oh, he looks, yeah.
Yeah, he's
2 feet and all that.
I'd play him against Chelsea, mate.
Yeah.
Because Fabinho was like, I don't know what, he's lost a bit of pace.
Just form, it seems with him, hasn't it? Because he's never been the fastest, has he? But it just seems like he's just a different, like, arguably one of the best defensive midfielders in the world last couple of seasons. And do you think we'll get top 4?
Where are we now? 20th of January. I can't see it. I don't know. It's just that midfield. I can't see beyond that. We'll know a bit more. Like, I thought Wolves was shite last night. By the way, Wolves were. They never they come at us. But them teams who steamroll us, the ones with the pace and power, and nearly every Premier team now. They're all playing like that. They all play like that, and they've all got fast midfielders, and they're just bypassing ours. So unless we get someone in this window to boost the whole thing, I can't see it. It's just slipping down. It's getting worse, but. I just hope to God. Because I can't. Who's going to come here if we don't get that Champions League? That's the thing. If you got the money, there's people are saying now FSG is staying. I'm going, oh my God, what? Yeah. So they're just selling a bit of a share in it. So
I seen that this morning.
If they're staying, we're not going to invest big again. If they're going to stay, so
my hope for the likes of Bellingham is, he's 19 or something, 20. You think, again, I'm not a professional footballer, but I'd like to think that his mindset is surely he must know he's going to be a millionaire. Unless he might be already. It's like, don't do it for the money just yet. Don't go to your Man Cities for 300 grand a week. Come to Liverpool, 400. You're not going to have Champions League, but they'll build a team around you. Apparently he's a Liverpool fan as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you'd like, if you you want him to just think with his heart, but that's me as a fan thinking that. But
yeah, I think if we don't get top 4, the only way players are going to come here with no Champions League is because of Klopp. He's the only pulling point really. So but at this moment in time, we're in January now. I can't see it. I'm hoping like in a few weeks' time when we beat Everton. That's the only sort of like that's sort
excitement we got this
sort
season.
Of like easing the pain a bit. You know what I mean? I'm seeing them, but I've got brother-in-laws Evertonians. You know what I mean? Fucking hell, it's just
interesting family parties at the minute.
Oh mate, honest to God, I had them in ours at Christmas, but this is before. They played thingy only the week when they got battered by
which team?
Everyone, isn't it? But anyway, off the radar now, can't he?
Yeah.
It's just messaging, there's nothing coming back.
No,
I don't know where they are.
Mate, but it's probably even... Sorry, what are you going to say then?
No, one of them, this is how bad they are, one of them went missing, right? After Istanbul, he went missing for like about 2 weeks. Proper missing, where the fuck is he? And nothing ever got said about it. And anyway, his missus was, she was bevied not long ago at this party, and I said, do you know what? I said, he told me all about what happened after Istanbul. And she goes, Dave, it was terrible, and it all come out, and she was glad and all that. And she goes, who'd go to Scotland in a little cottage on their own for 2 weeks and cut off from the whole world?
He never.
That's what he fucked off to Scotland.
Fucking no.
On a little, in the wood, middle in the fucking wood, probably cooking fucking rabbits on sticks and everything in the woods.
Oh,
he just went missing.
God,
So,
the bitterness there.
So that's, when I done that Reds and Blues film, the Evertonian who was getting fed through the door, he was based on him. You know what I mean?
Fucking no.
He wouldn't come out the room.
Yeah.
And he, so he had a bad case of red shite-itis.
Andrew Schofield's in that, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in that. And Paul Duckworth. But as I say, the top four this year, I mean, that's going to be seen as a massive achievement, isn't it? I mean, the FA Cup, that's still alive after last night. But that trip to Brighton.
Brighton, I was going to say. After they played the other week.
They've done really well against us. I mean, the game at Anfield last year, when you think about it.
2-2, wasn't it?
We were 2-0 up. That would have won us the league if we'd won that.
Took me little girl to that Endo, scored in about 5 minutes. I thought, great, what a great game. My little girl's first day on the Cop. She'd been about 6-7 games last season. Took her on the Cop for the first time. 5 minutes in, Endo scores. I think, great, you know. And I think we got 2-0 in, and it was 2-0 at half time, ended up drawing 2-2.
2-2, but like when you looked at the end of the season, that would have won us the league.
Mad, innit?
You know what I mean? So they've done really well against us lately, them. You know, but that midfield of theirs is like same as Fulham, same as Brentford. You know, they're all pacey, powerful players, and they're overrunning our midfield. We've got to get that sorted, but I'm just hoping and praying like that we get that top four. I mean, that'll be seen as like a massive achievement, won't it, this year?
Be like an Alisson moment when he gets the header in the last minute.
That was brilliant, that, wasn't
it? Maybe probably fitting way to end it is because of our little dip now, these last 5 years under Klopp, but, you know, finals in Madrid, trips to Wembley, going to San Siro, everywhere all over Europe. It's already got me thinking, like, those were the days, and they were only like 5 years ago, do you know what I mean? Not quite as dramatic, but hey, Dave, mate, I could, no doubt we'll probably get asked to get you on again, mate, because I think any footy fan, as long as you're not too bitter of a Blue, you'll probably appreciate this pod.
Well, I mentioned the Blues in there, actually, because like, back in them days...
One thing I thought was dead interesting is you talk about the FA Cup tie, where both at 3 o'clock in Liverpool. Yeah. And you both out at the same time.
Well, like they played Millwall, one of the famous ones. They played Millwall, and we played Man City, and both kicked off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. And it was in like January, February around there. So it was dark when we all come out, fucking murder. The mob that went into town that day. I mean, in them days, everyone used to run up the Cop down to Anley Road, and there was then they all ran down to Walton Lane there. Big mob of everyone was coming that way, and everyone joins up. And but there was thousands of Reds coming down the hills. The middle of town looked like a homecoming. Honest to God, that's what it looked like in the middle of St. George's Hall. So, yeah, but Everton and Liverpool, no problem. Remember when we went to Rome, went to there before Rome, playing Man United at Wembley? There was Evertonians in November.
Yeah, you talk about Evertonians going down to Wembley and that.
Yeah, they come down for the fighting. These lads with us, you know, and or lads come down for the piss up and all that, but yeah, the Everton thing, them days, it wasn't as bitter.
No.
You wouldn't, you tell the young lads now and they go, what? They can't believe it, but that's the way it was from my generation, Liverpool and Everton. No bad grief, really. But I mean, as I say, my brother-in-law's it's funny. I mean, if he goes on, fucking hell. They're going on about the fireworks outside. Before the Southampton game. Yeah. And I said, wait to see the fucking firework party if you goes out. Be like bummy night, won't it?
Oh, mate. No, I can't wait. But listen, Dave, I won't say too much. I get shit already for being a bit bitter, so I don't want to go too hard on it. But Dave, mate, pleasure. Everyone who wants to get it, those are the days, my friend. Amazon, a few places around town, Liverpool shops and that. It's a cracking read, some great stories in there. And Dave, honestly, mate, real pleasure to have you on.
Great stuff, Ant.
Thanks very much, mate.
Well then, mate.